Hi, Sean. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you taking the time out.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm excited about talking to you and
Yeah.
seeing where this goes.
Yeah. So just a introduction. This channel is just all about making new friends. Just very basic entry level. Like, who are you? Um, how did you get into sub two? Where do you see yourself going? Um, Success and failure along the way, that sort of thing, and then I then jump into your goals and visions of project forward. So we'll jump right into it.
All right. Sounds
Yeah,
good.
tell me who you are, where you live, and your occupation.
Okay. All right. So I'm Sean Salandy. I am currently living in the state of Delaware. Um, I'm originally from New York, grew up in New York, moved to Delaware in high school, the beginning of high school, and sort of a shock, a culture shock. um, but um, but I've been here since, so it didn't scare me away. Um, but it is a different place. It's a lot slower paced
Mm,
place. A lot of depending on where you are in the state, there's a lot of uh, farms, a lot of a lot of open space, and a lot of fresh air compared to compared to the smog that I was used to. But
New York, yeah.
um, so yeah, so that's where I currently am. Hoping to move to a southern state sometime soon. I've been looking at Florida and wanting to move there. Hopefully within the next year or so. So I'd like to set up operations there. Um, but yeah, so I currently work a full time W-2. So I sort of balance that with the real estate investing. Been working for a company that does claims for personal injuries,
Okay.
and so I've been there for 20 years, and so I've been in a position there to where we do the software testing, and we also build out the website and um, a lot of other miscellaneous things.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've been there for a long time now, and then so I've been sort of trying to balance, that with doing real estate investing.
Okay. So are you able to work from home in that W-2 job or no?
Well, that's interesting. During COVID, that was the first time that option was introduced, and that was very helpful because one thing I didn't mention is that it's about an hour and hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half away
Okay.
from where I
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
So I have a nice little commute. And so when COVID hit, and most businesses were allowing people to work from home, that was definitely a great time for me. I was able to save time, save gas, save on the mileage on the cars. so so but now it's sort of been pulled back as far as the work from home. So I'm on sort of a hybrid
Okay.
schedule where I'm able to work from home one day out of the week, and then I work 4 days out of the week. So one day out of the week I'm working from home. The other days I'm working in the office, and then I have 3 days out of the 7 to sort of try to make things happen. you know.
Yeah. You got to be intentional about
Yeah,
those days off. Okay. That's real
absolutely.
life. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But but yeah, it's been sort of tough. I mean, during the time where we were able to work from home, a lot of people, were well. I have the type of job where, I can sort of work and have something either in like a podcast in my ear, or
Mm.
have something on a screen aside that I could listen to. So I was able to sort of do that, and so I was able to make use of my time at home, and then once I was done with my actual work, then I just switch gears and get into, whatever I needed to as far as real estate was concerned. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And how did that start for you? How did that look like, getting into real estate and even sub to community?
Okay. So real estate has sort of been sort of in and out for a little while. And it actually happened, prior to COVID. I was, like I said, doing a full-time job, but also wanting something more, wanting something better. I actually, was wanting to do and be in real estate for a long time. My parents had owned property, rental property, and so I sort of the value and the benefit of that. So that was always going to be an option for me. I mean, even though I've thought of doing other things, real estate was always going to be the thing that I ended up doing. So so in the beginning it was tough. I started off, I think, like a lot of people, where you consume a lot. So I was consuming, the Bigger Pockets, the podcast, what was it, every Wednesday or every Thursday at the time, buying books, going to Barnes and Nobles and racking up on fix and flip books or rental books, and just consuming a lot. And then I started to realize that I've been consuming for way too long. I don't know if I was subconsciously looking for, just something or someone to be able to, push me and say, hey, move.
Yeah.
But there was just a certain point where I was like, all right, I'm tired of, hearing about people's stories and not creating one for myself. So, so that's where I eventually, took dove into it and just been working on it since.
Okay. So did you hear about Pace then through Bigger Pockets?
No. So I remember seeing, this was early 2020. I remember seeing YouTube videos with him in it, and I remember seeing one in particular. I had just started, because at first I didn't want to focus on doing wholesale real estate, but I had just started like paying more attention to it and started reading up on it and really considering doing wholesaling as opposed to just one aspect, which I thought would be just fix and flip. That's what I was doing, and sort of not even considering wholesaling property. So I started paying more attention to it, and then I saw a video with him talking about it, and I don't know if I took the video the wrong way, but it was almost as if, and no, I know I took it the wrong way. I thought he was, discouraging people from doing wholesaling, but I didn't really I didn't really get what he was saying until after, when I looked at it again, I realized, oh no, he's actually showing how to handle your competition with wholesaling, and sort of not really disparaging the actual wholesaling. So I didn't understand it at the time, but long story short, during COVID, we were all home, and I think a lot of people were doing a lot of YouTube watching and and everything. And so I remember seeing a video where he was doing I think a 12-hour or 12+ hour like a telethon or a marathon, of a video where he was going nonstop, and I'm just talking about creative finance stuff. So I had my pen and my pad, and I was on it from the beginning all the way, to the end. What I noticed is,
hours?
yes.
Oh,
And what I noticed, and that was actually wasn't the last time he did. He did it again for longer.
Wow.
But I remember a couple of things. I remember like how detailed he was in breaking down creative finance and sub 2 and everything. But I also remember people were coming in and out of the YouTube of the meeting or the Zoom. Well, actually, it was YouTube. People were coming in and out, so they were asking a lot of the same questions over and over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, as a viewer, you get a little frustrated, like, oh yeah, he answered that already.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was actually answering it, and it was like a fresh answer, not a different answer, but he was like had no problem answering the same question over and over. That's what led me to say, I think, I might join this, or I wanted to join that community. I was skeptical of joining communities and joining mentorships and things of that nature, but that particular day is what sold me on it, because I'm like, man, if somebody has that patience for that many hours, and I think that they're the real deal, and I'm glad I did, for sure.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. You really saw his character, like his passion for teaching and breaking it down, and he wasn't getting frustrated with people not paying attention, or
right, or new people coming in, and you understand that some people didn't catch the whole thing, the whole broadcast, but still he was able to just answer the same questions over and over, and that's what sold me, because I had looked at other mentorships, and I even date back to the Carlton Sheets days, where I'm not sure if you familiar, but there used to be like an infomercial with a guy that was selling a program for real estate investing, and he would at one point it was VHS tapes, videotapes, and then it moved on to DVDs. But you sort of got these, you were able to watch them and learn about real estate investing. I think they also may have had a coaching program later on, but you're sort of left on your own to sort of figure things out. But in this mentorship, it's different. You have people at your disposal, and you have other people in the same boat that just want to learn together. So yeah, that's where I started with Sub 2.
For sure, definitely a full-size community, people on all different levels, and describe it like there's it's a mentorship within a mentorship within the mentorship, like all the extras.
Yeah. Like to that point, I mean, we're starting a business buying mentorship within the mentorship. I mean, it just started 2 days ago, and it's already like, all right, so we came in here for real estate, but we're sort of learning something completely different than what we thought we would, and it's all part of it. And so I'm excited about that aspect of it as well. So for sure,
definitely leveling up. For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so then what is your niche within Sub 2? Like, what are you sticking with wholesaling and fix and flips and like the acquisition side, or
well, yeah, okay, so that's interesting, because just to go back, I had originally thought that like wholesaling and sourcing your own deals was sort of like the ground level, the bottom level, and I felt like, all right, I'll just do fix and flip. I'll sort of cut all of that out and just do fix and flip. But that's when I started to realize, oh wait, you want to actually be in control of the deal flow. So that's when I decided I wanted to start finding my own deals. Now, of course, when you're networking with other people, then that also brings the opportunity to have deals brought to you as well. But when I made that decision to say, hey, I'm going to actually look for my own deals, that gives me the opportunity to do a number of things. I mean, I can keep the property. I can do a fix and flip, or I could obviously assign it to someone. And that's when I that was that moment when I said, oh, okay, yeah, I understand what I want to do. And so as far as an avatar, I've definitely focused on direct to seller. Not I'm not opposed to direct to agent, obviously, because there's opportunities there as well. But direct to seller is really, what I like to focus on, and solving problems. I think the one thing I've learned, and I keep getting reminded of, is that this is actually a business where you're a problem solver.
Yeah.
It's not strictly a transactional business. You can help people out of bad situations. And so that actually, if you look at it that way, that can actually, in an indirect way, bring you more opportunities. If you focus on actually helping people. So,
Sure.
So that's really, as far as an avatar, that's really what I focus on. And then just kind of, as a sub category for an avatar, I feel like, I'm best suited as, at least for right now, as an integrator. Because I think I've sort of been trained in the 20, what did I say, 20 years? It was actually 22 years at my W-2 to sort of be behind the computer and sort of solve problems that way. And so I find myself leaning towards that, like, well, by necessity right now, because I'm sort of a one-man show. So, I wear multiple hats. So I'm having to do the integrator stuff and the visionary stuff. But I think, in a perfect world, I'd be sort of focused on, doing the integrator portion of the business.
Okay. You said a couple interesting things. Like, first of all, I loved how you mentioned, like, the goal is to actually help people. Like, instead of, like, sometimes, like, you'll see other programs or whatever. It's just about, like, just money hungry, get invested, like, just ripping people off. And, like, what you were mentioning about that 12-hour broadcast with Pace, like, that's one thing that intrigued me about him, is like talking about that his F-150 story. I'm sure he's mentioned it so many times, and like finding the bunnies and like all the thing, like genuinely helping someone. And then just because you show up with character and genuinely trying to help, then they want to do business with you, because you're not, like, just doing wrong by them. So
right. And I think people can tell if you're a genuine person or not. I mean, I think it's understood that, like, this is, this is a transaction. I mean, I think both parties understand that. And I think there's always a point when you're in the negotiation phase where, it may get uncomfortable, because, you being the buyer, you can't necessarily just give away everything. You can't, you can't buy and lose money. You have to buy to sort of, you have to remain in business, to continue to help people. But so I think both parties in most cases understand that, and that's always going to be a part of it. But they can always, I think, tell when you're being genuine and you are actually concerned about their circumstances, or if you're just, listen, you're about the money, and once you're done with them, you're on to the next one and don't even care about their circumstances. I think people understand that, and so, I mean, this is I think a relationship business, and your reputation, I think, it means everything, and people talk, and so it may come back to bite you, as if you're known as somebody that's just reaching for money and then don't really care about the people that you're trying to serve.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. No, I was going to say too, I mean, I think if you can sort of do both and sort of serve two purposes, I mean, you as a, as an individual, I think that sort of makes you feel better anyway. I mean, yeah, of course, being able to get a nice check and count your money makes you could make you feel good. But yeah, if you're actually making a difference and helping somebody, I think it won't eat at you. When you're doing your business, if you're doing it ethically and doing it the right way. So,
I agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No reason not to show up and be kind and
Right.
make that a part of your business.
And be concerned, because you'll come across sellers that maybe might be more savvy, might be investors themselves, and they're all about the numbers, and they don't want to tell you about their life story. They don't want to. Do you want to buy? How much are you going to offer me? That's it. And that's you deal with them as well, and they might not have a major problem to sort of serve. They may or may not. I mean, you never know until you start talking to them, but a lot of them are about the numbers. And that's always going to be, but the majority of the people that you'll talk to are just regular mom and pop or just regular homeowners that need you. Not everybody needs you. I mean, there's plenty of people that are better off going to somewhere else to sell their property, but there's some people that actually need your expertise. And we're building a skill and a skill level, with what we're learning, that we can help a lot of people that can't be helped otherwise.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's great that you're able to do both sides of that, the direct to seller, the visionary, and the integration side. That's a powerful tool.
Yeah. That's one thing that I need to start focusing on is sort of being able to scale and find someone else that'll be able to take some of the workload off. And that's what I'm really looking to do, because one thing, if you're sort of a wearing so many hats, you're gonna be lacking in certain areas, because you only have so much time. And if you stretch yourself too thin, then sort of so something suffers.
Yes. Yeah, I guess what you're saying. So the benefit is that you can be this one man show because you have both sides of it, but it is not necessarily scalable. And then the whole saying of jack of all trades but master of none. So
right.
But as you grow, you lean towards one more. And
yeah, definitely. And I think I think that sort of, so I kind of over the years have sort of kind of had to fight with the desire to work independently. I don't know if I should say desire, but that's just my nature to work independently. It is it doesn't, like we were just saying, it just for scaling, that doesn't work. And so my goals are bigger than just a deal here and there. And so that's why I'm going to make it a point to add to the team and sort of being able to delegate some of those responsibilities.
Okay, so that's your current need, right? Is you want the visionary side and stay on the integrator side?
I think so. I sort of probably need to let go because when I say let go, I mean of control. I think that might be an issue with me is wanting to have total control. And I don't know if that's normal. People in the business, but in order to have someone, you have to be able to trust someone, to be that visionary or whatever other part of your business. You have to be able to trust them to make decisions, and so that's what I need to work on as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Do you know, have you met Orlando and Alina Diaz or not yet?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Where they out of?
They're in the Dallas Fort Worth area.
Okay.
Highly recommend that you connect with them. They're husband wife, sweetest couple. Elena is the visionary, and Orlando is an integrator, and they even have like separate podcasts, like meetups, like related to like how like their struggles dealing with the visionary, the struggles dealing with internet, and then how to best like come together and just what that looks like. And awesome
Okay.
people, very
Yeah.
beautiful. They do like a lot of coaching and like on mindset, at least Elena does, on like how to just help you grow. Yeah, highly recommend you connect with them.
Yeah.
There.
Definitely, I definitely would love to connect with them. There's so many people, like that are sort of within the community that are sort of giving and willing to the fact that they're doing Zooms and meetings and podcasts, showing people how to do what they're doing. I think that's the whole point of what we're doing in our group, and so I definitely like to connect with them. I can learn a lot for sure.
Cool. Yeah, nice. Well then, I'm curious. You've dabbled into this. So what would you say at this point? Like, give like a quick story on your biggest success and what attributed to it, and then on the flip side, what do you say your biggest failure thus far and what you learned from it?
It's interesting. I think one of the I'm just thinking of a story that I had dealt with a guy that was selling his property. He lived out of state, and the property was in pretty bad shape. It was a full gut, and so his brother had reached out to me, and I took a look at the property, but the circumstances surrounding it. So he was getting a lot of fines from the county, and he was bleeding money. I mean, he had tenants in there prior, so he was an absentee owner, and so he was losing money. They tore up the house, and his brother got in contact with me, and then I started working with him, and one of the things during that whole process, we sort of went back and forth. I got to know him a little bit, and we decided on a number as far as what I would acquire the property for, and so we had the contracts and everything. But one thing that ended up being an issue was that his wife, who is deceased now, her children, her heirs, and which were his stepchildren, they sort of came into play and created like a roadblock to it. And for whatever reason, I didn't get too deep into their reasoning, but I had spoke to them. Actually, one in particular, who was really the one blocking the whole transaction. I had gone back and forth with him over the phone. He seemed fine, but there was some sort of deeply rooted thing that was going on that no one really wanted to talk about. But long story short, this went on for months. I mean, almost a year. And it got to a point where the one of the heirs just refused to communicate at all to anybody, including the the main owner. And so it just felt like at that point, I put a lot of time and effort, made phone calls, and it just felt like it just wasn't going to happen. And one thing, when I call someone and they don't answer or they don't give it, like if we had a conversation previously or several conversations, and then all of a sudden if you don't want to continue on, just tell me. Don't not answer my text or if everything's all right with you, tell me what I did wrong. And, but long story short, and I'll tie into why I think this was a success for me. Like I said, it was close to a year dealing with this, but I kept at it. But most importantly, I kept in communication with the original gentleman that I had spoken to, the original owner of it, and just letting him know, like checking in with him, seeing how he's doing, and letting him know that I'm here to help him. Like I said, it's costing him money, and so and he was elderly. He is elderly, so he didn't have just the money to just keep throwing out into this property that existed not even where he was living. So, but anyway, so I thought about just letting it go and continuing on and focusing on other things, but I kept with it. And long story short, I finally got into communication, had a nice long talk, and close to a year later, was able to close on the property. Was a nice closing on it, but also, when I say nice, I mean it was it was worth it financially, but also most importantly, I was able to help him, to sell that property and get out of a bad situation. And I had to, sort of, and that's part of this business, sort of switch hats many times and sort of be the mediator between them. And it was rough, but it worked out in the long run. And it told me a couple of things. Number one, I feel like it taught me to not give up on what you're doing, especially if you feel as though someone needs your help, and there's an opportunity for you to help them. Don't give up on it, because like I said, I thought about giving up, and there was a month or two where I didn't, I focused on other things, and then I went back to it. So that was most important to me, was that I didn't quit on it, and then in the end, I ended up helping someone that needed the help. So I think that was just a reinforcement that don't be a quitter. That was it.
Yeah, and you showed him, like, you were still there checking on him, like you were consistent. That's all the words I keep thinking of. Did you reach out to the children? Is that what changed it? Like, did you have a conversation with them that made them feel like it was a good move, or what was the difference a year later?
Well, I did reach out again, and finally they were communicating. The one in particular that wasn't communicating well was open to, and we had a nice long conversation. It also turned out that I ended up, so I also was in communication with some probate attorneys, because it ended up being a sort of a situation where we found out that the heirs did not have the rightful ownership of the property. So he was able to close.
Okay.
But we were given bad advice in the beginning. And so that was ultimately the resolution. But prior to that, what really kind of opened it up more was I finally was able to get in communication with them as well, and we had that conversation. But it turned out that that talking to a different probate attorney sort of opened up our eyes, and we ended up being able to close without the headache. So we actually could have closed months prior, but you learn, you learn.
Yeah,
so.
Consistency, and you don't know. You just see a roadblock, and then after chipping away at it, so then you see a little door you can potentially walk through. So that's awesome.
And one thing I learned too is even though someone's an attorney, or that's part of that's their profession, they might be wrong, and the attorney that originally told us, that we would have to actually have, all of the heirs on board and sign, they were wrong. And so that also it costed time, but it was a learning lesson as well. So.
Sure. And then, like you said, you had to play mediator. All these hats you're juggling, and little family counseling in there.
Yeah. And you kind of don't want to get like, you do and you don't. You don't want to get too personal, right? But there was obviously something there, and so in order to sort of, if they're not communicating with each other, in order to facilitate that, you sort of have to
get in their business.
A little bit. It was sometimes that's awkward. Yeah, sometimes that's awkward.
Yeah.
But how else can you help if you don't know what's going on? So.
Wow, what a great story! It really shows both. I see the success. You got a nice check from it. The persistency paid off, and you definitely learned a ton along the way. So that definitely
for sure.
Both sides of that success.
For sure.
Just the roller coaster of real estate investing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a roller coaster, and it's never boring. It's always something different. It's a different scenario, different situations. You learn, you meet new people. You learn about different people's lives. So it's not boring at all.
It's not.
So, yeah.
What advice would you say that you would give a brand new person joining Sub 2 or real estate investing as a whole?
There's two main things. If I look back to when I started, I kind of touched on one of them earlier, and that's just the one, having that feeling the way you have to know everything before you jump in.
Yeah.
And obviously you might not really believe that that's the case. Like, I didn't believe that was the case, that I had to know everything, but I felt like, if I just know a little bit more, then I'll be ready. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. I mean, you want to know, you want to spend some time learning something, you want to know, you have a good basis, but at some point you have to let go and just take the leap. And, but what would make that a lot easier, which is the second piece of advice, would be to network and seek help from other people. And a lot of people, in my case, I'm like I said earlier, I'm sort of like I like to figure it out on my own. Why do that though when there's people that have experienced what you're going to experience and can keep you from making mistakes that they've made? And so probably every state has a local real estate investor association. Here in Delaware there's one, and I learned a lot from the people there, and if not, there's meetups everywhere, and of course, if you're in a community like a Sub 2 or something similar, you're gonna find people with experience, and they'll be able to help you along. So I guess to sum up, your question is, don't procrastinate. Learn to sort of understand that you're not going to know everything. You're going to learn during the process. You can read all you want, but you're not going to retain everything. And if you don't put it into action, you're going to end up reading the same stuff over and over, because you're going to forget a lot of what you read. And so unless you actually do it, and you could sort of marry an experience with that lesson, so it sticks in your mind, and then you have a proof of concept. But also along with that, network and have people by your side that'll help you along, and that's to me, that's the biggest lesson for anybody starting out.
For sure. That was so well said. I definitely relate to all of that. That resonates so deeply. Makes so much sense. Those definitely good tips of advice. Networking, not doing it on your own. When you have such a go-giving community at your fingertips, that's huge. And then the flip side, the secondary part about learn, like it's important to always be a constant learner, learn and then implement and learn versus like what you did and what I did is like trying to learn, and then implement like, wait, let's try learn, and then it's just like you just getting stuck versus what I loved how you said that, like learn it and then implement, like marry it, and that's that experience is going to help you ready for that next step. So
right.
yeah, I'm learning that as well.
Yeah, it's a hard lesson, but it's important. I think it's important.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know we went over. I thought this was only going to be 30 minutes, so I won't take up any more of your day.
No, that's fine.
Thank you so much. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you?
The best place to connect with me is on Facebook. Just Sean Salandy on Facebook, Salandy on Facebook. Message me. I'll reach back out to you. I'm looking forward to talking to as many people as possible and networking for sure. Yeah, I appreciate you having me, by the way.
Yeah, I would love to do business with you.
Let's do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right. You too. Thank you.